Today I'm going to show you how to make potato salad two different ways. I'm going to make a string bean and potato salads with vinaigrette and a classic potato salad made with a mayonnaise base. Our first recipe will be our string bean and potato salad. For this recipe, you will need 20 ounces of red bliss potatoes, 4 ounces of string beans, a quarter of a cup of red onions sliced, 1 tablespoon of parsley chopped, and 1 scallion sliced thin. So let's first begin with our red bliss potatoes. I have about 20 ounces of red bliss potatoes. I use these waxy potatoes because they have a nice thin skin that I don't peel, and they put a nice color in the potato salad. Also, they will absorb the vinaigrette nicely, but they will hold their shape after I boil them. That's why we choose a waxy potato for this recipe. I'm going to cut them into a large dice. I want to make sure that all the potatoes are cut even in size. I'm going to rinse them another time, and then I'm going to bring them up to a boil with about 2 teaspoons of salt. It's really important to salt the potatoes at this stage so that as they cook, they absorb the water, but they absorb the salt as well. In the meantime, we're going to prep the rest of our ingredients. We're going to clean our green beans. So the green beans have 2 ends. They have the stem end and then they have the tail end. I like to just cut the stem end off. This is the part that is attached to the vine. So I just bunch them all together, put them at even height, and then I'm able to cut the tips off of quite a few of them at the same time. Then I'm going to cut them down one more time into smaller bite-sized pieces so that it is easier to eat this salad, and I'm going to prepare to boil them. I'm going to add them to boiling water that I have just added some salt to. Okay, so this is probably like 3 cups of water. I probably added about 2 teaspoons of salt. And notice I do not overcrowd the pan when I add the green beans because I want to make sure they come back up to a boil quickly so they keep that vibrant green color while they boil. If you overcrowd the pan, they will take a longer time to come up to a boil, which means that they will turn like an army green color. All their nutrients will be left in the water. So let's get ready with the rest of our mise en place. I'm going to thin slice my scallion. I like to use both the white and the green part of the scallion for this recipe. Some recipes call to keep the green part of the scallion for garnish, but I like to mix it all in. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mince my parsley. I like to pick the leaves off of the stem of the parsley. Some people like to chop the parsley stem up as well. Because this is for a salad and the stem, some of the stem is really thick, I want to discard that or save it for a stock. I bunch it up together and then I run my knife right through the parsley into thin strips, and then I go back, put them in a pile, and then I mince it using the rocking motion. I'm going to add my parsley and my scallions to a plate where I've already sliced my onions, but I forgot to videotape that. Now let me show you the dressing. I'm going to use the same dressing that I used for my caprese salad the other day. I have 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, half a tablespoon of honey, half a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 1 clove of garlic minced, a pinch each of dried basil, oregano, and parsley, and some salt and fresh cracked pepper. I put it in a jar and I shook it up, and I made myself an emulsified dressing right here in a jar without using a whisk and a bowl. This is just a quick way to make your dressing. It may not stay together the whole time if you don't mix it enough, but this is something I do when I'm in a pinch. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a bowl and I'm going to start mixing my salad. My string beans are just about done. I've probably simmered them for about 10 minutes until they are tender. Depending on the season, they could take a little bit longer if they are more fibrous, but you just taste them to test for doneness. I'm going to add my onions, my scallions, and my parsley to my bowl. I'm going to add my green beans while they are still hot I'm gonna add them right out of the pot of water. To that mixture, I'm going to add my balsamic vinaigrette. I'm just gonna shake it up one more time. The reason why I don't have to mix this completely is because when I mix this vinaigrette with the potatoes, it's really gonna get absorbed. So it's not really gonna have the opportunity to break in the salad because that vinaigrette is gonna absorb into my potatoes. I'm gonna check to see if my potatoes are done. If I can pierce them with a knife very easily, they're ready. I'm gonna bring them to my sink where I have my strainer set up, and I am going to strain my potatoes. I am not going to cool these potatoes down. We wanna dress them when they're hot. They will absorb more flavor from our dressing and our seasonings if they are added when they are still hot. I'm going to toss the potatoes in the vinaigrette that has the string beans, the scallions, the onions, and the parsley. I'm going to season it with salt and pepper. If you wanted to add some onion powder and garlic powder, you can do that as well. I'm going to taste it for seasoning, and then I'm going to refrigerate it overnight. I'm going to let the flavors absorb into the potato, and then tomorrow, right before I'm ready to serve it, I'm gonna taste it one more time for seasoning, and then I'm gonna serve it along with my favorite main dish. My next salad is a classic potato salad that's made with mayonnaise dressing. You can have additional ingredients added to this potato salad, but I'm gonna show you a basic recipe. You're going to need 1 pound of potatoes, a 1/4 cup of red onion diced, 1 stalk of celery diced, and 2 scallions sliced thin, as well as 1 tablespoon of minced parsley. So I'm going to prepare these potatoes the same way I did as my last recipe. A nice large dice, making sure that they're not too large. You want to be able to get a couple of dices on a spoon for serving, so you don't want to make them too large. After I cut them, I'm gonna put them in my pot, and I'm gonna rinse them a few times until I make sure that the water is super clean. And then I'm going to salt them, about 2 teaspoons to a tablespoon of salt, and I'm gonna bring them up to a boil. Meanwhile, I'm gonna prepare my ingredients. And a lot of these ingredients are the same as the last recipe. But when we get to the dressing, that's where we're gonna differ. First up, I'm going to mince my 1 tablespoon of parsley. I removed all the stems, and then I just used a rocking motion after I sliced them to get them into nice fine pieces. Next, I'm going to slice my scallion, nice and thin scallion cuts. Again, I'm using both the white and the green part of the scallion. Next, I'm going to mince my celery. So I'm just going to clean both ends of the celery stalk. I'm going to cut them into sticks, and then I'm going to cut them in a dice from the sticks. We want to make sure that everything is a nice small dice so it doesn't look larger than the potatoes in the recipe. Next is my diced onion. I'm going to do my horizontal cuts, then my vertical cuts, and then my cross cuts from front to back to get my nice even small dice. And I'd like to mention that we use red onions for salads because they have a nice sharp and spicy flavor that adds to the salad. So here I am. I'm going to check for the doneness of my potatoes. If you can slice through them with a knife easily, they're ready to go. You don't want to overcook them because they will fall apart if they are overcooked. And the reason why we use these potatoes is so they stay together in the salad for a better appearance. I'm going to drain my potatoes, and I'm going to let these cool. We do not want to dress our mayonnaise-based potato salad with hot potatoes because that could cause the mayonnaise dressing to break. So we want to let these cool down. I actually don't cool them with water. I just let them cool naturally so I don't have them absorb more water as they are drying out. So while they're drying, I'm going to make my dressing. In this large mixing bowl, I have a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, a 1/4 cup of sour cream, 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, I'm adding a half a teaspoon each of onion powder and garlic powder, as well as salt and pepper to taste. About half a teaspoon of salt and a quarter teaspoon of ground black pepper. And I'm going to just combine these ingredients really well and get it ready to add the rest of my mise en place. So here I have my onions, scallions, celery, and parsley ready to go. I've added my warm potatoes to my bowl. Warm potatoes is okay to use because they will start to absorb the dressings, the flavor of the dressings. You just don't want them to be hot right out of the water because then the dressing, the mayonnaise dressing, may break. I'm going to add my onions, my celery, my parsley, and my scallions, and I'm going to mix this salad well. I'm going to taste it for seasoning, and then I'm going to set it aside and I'm going to refrigerate it overnight until tomorrow. Most of these salads are much better served after they have about 1 day to sit because they're able to absorb all of the flavors that is in the bowl, in the dressing, in the ingredients, and you can adjust those seasonings tomorrow if they need more. If you feel that your mayonnaise dressing is too thick tomorrow, you could add a little bit of heavy cream or a little bit of thinned out mayonnaise to help loosen it up a little bit. But absolutely make sure that you taste it before you serve it so you can adjust the seasoning if it is lacking. You see, I just added a little bit more mayonnaise here before serving because I felt like the salad looked a little too dry. I wouldn't add any more vinegar because that may overpower it. Just a little bit of thinned out mayonnaise or heavy cream I've added before as well. I'm going to place it in a bowl and I'm going to get ready to serve it. This really pairs well with a nice hamburger, hot dog, barbecued ribs, something along those lines. So here's my dish. Hope you enjoyed our 2 potato salad recipes today, one with a vinaigrette and one with a mayonnaise-based dressing. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell for notifications for when we post new videos.